Looks like Bill Belichick's going to North Carolina. Garrett Crochet's going to the Red Sox. There's too much going on right now. CHGO Bears starts immediately. Welcome into CHGO Bears Podcast. A rare off Wednesday for the Bears who play on Monday Night Football, but we take no days off, just like Bill Belichick, who's going to go to North Carolina apparently.
I'm very excited about Bill coming to Chapel Hill.
Well, please finish that sentence. Thank you. There was way too long of a pause.
We really like Bill's ability to address the youth of our country. We are really excited about Bill.
Adam Hoge, Michael Jordan, Greg Braggs Jr. with you here. Off to a great roaring start.
I am so excited for whatever MJ does talk about Belichick. Absolutely, Bill. Champion. I'm a champion.
Have you had your head examined in the last calendar year?
I really believe that Bill can be a difference maker on the college level.
Okay.
Anyway, back to you, Hogue.
Yeah, thank you. Still not completely official, but there are now some more credible reports coming out of North Carolina. Bill Belichick getting closer, and then the bombshell right before that has nothing to do with football. But Garrett Crochet is going to be leaving.
Bombshell. Slow down.
It's a bombshell.
It's the biggest trade in baseball. Is the second most anticipated move outside of Juan Soto.
I thought the
signing.
the Cubs were getting Garrett Crochet.
Behind the scenes here, right before the show started, Lawrence Benedetto, when I informed him that the trade was happening, ran across our studio into his office to get in position to fire off, I don't know, a graphic, something big, doing his job. To which Greg goes, he's being traded to the Red Sox. Why does that matter?
Right. It doesn't.
Okay.
Because he forgot that Garrett Crochet was on the White Sox.
I forgot.
He didn't understand why it was relevant to CHGO.
I didn't forget.
Yes, you did.
I forgot the White Sox.
You forgot the entire White Sox organization.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry, Sean Anderson and Herb Lawrence. Love you guys.
See, I would never forget the White Sox or, of course, Herb and Vinny and Sean and Lawrence and everybody else.
All right. Well, I'm assuming they're going to have an emergency podcast on that coming up soon. So be on the lookout for that for any White Sox fans out there. For everyone else like Greg, who only cares about the Bears and Twitter, we're here for you.
That's right.
And what we thought we'd do today with this sort of bonus off day, with nothing going on at Hallis Hall, we thought there's been a lot of talk about Ryan Poles and maybe being in some type of limbo here. He, according to our guy Adam Johns, has 1 year left on his contract, unless he's already been secretly extended, which with the McCaskies, you never know. But if they are debating extending him, we thought it would make sense to go through the worst and best moves that he's made as general manager so far, to kind of look at the pros and cons, the job he's done through 3 years.
The list we assume that Kevin Warren perhaps is compiling as George Hallis looks over him at his desk at Hallis Hall.
Yeah, you'd hope. We're doing best moves first, right?
It's a short segment. Oh,
it's funny how much this has changed in like 4 months.
It's actually not funny. It's debilitating and sad and depressing. But hey, life is a long game, and Ryan Poles is going to bounce back because we all think he's going to continue to get the opportunity to do so.
Ryan Poles' best moves as general manager. Number one,
Dun, 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 dun.
The trade with the Carolina Panthers, which eventually netted Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and plenty more. Might even be enough to outweigh all the bad, quite frankly.
Let's hope so.
And if you are Kevin Warren looking at this list. But, yeah, I don't think there's any argument here. Well, except for Carm keeps bringing up C.J. Stroud, and I don't know, kind of weirdly hasn't brought him up in the last couple months.
It's weird.
Wonder why.
Okay, let's talk about this. First of all, this is clearly 100% the best thing that Ryan has done. And congratulations on hopefully setting the franchise up for success that they're not seeing right now. There's no doubt about that. But he did get very lucky. It would have been a good trade if he got the 5th overall pick, but there's no way that he could have predicted that he end up with the number 1 pick. It just worked out that way. A lot of people had Carolina winning the division that year. And all of a sudden, by the way, Bryce Young's now starting to play well. So if somehow that had clicked earlier, they wouldn't have been in this position. So it fell his way. Not saying it was a very good trade, but he did pass on CJ, who I get it is turned the other way for a little bit here. I still believe in CJ Stroud. And he had luck that was blended into it. You can't, I'm sorry. The Darnell Wright Tyreek Stevenson combination is just not going to carry the mail on for forever here. They both look just like guys to me.
Well, and I mean, it's a trade that still is having an impact going forward on the organization with the Panthers' 2nd round pick coming up. And, for as many people that want to say, well, anybody you could have said that they should trade back with the Panthers. Sure, they were one of the candidates, but it wasn't clear that was absolutely the move they should have made. And you had Houston at 2. I believe you had the Colts at 4. And there was a lot of fans making the argument, just trade back 1 spot, get what you can there and stay there and get a blue chip player. Trade back to 4 and stay in the top 5. So there was different options at the Bears' disposal. Ryan Poles picks the Carolina Panthers. And then on top of that, when you talk about a veteran player coming in, from reports, it seemed like there was an option between Brian Burns, a linebacker, or DJ Moore. And personally, I think they made the correct decision on going after DJ Moore. So I think, people try to sell short that move because they kind of lucked into the fact that they had the number 1 pick. But at the same time, because of Lovie Smith, but at the same time, I think there was some, not just luck, but things Ryan Poles did well within that process to make that trade.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate here that this is number 1 on the list. By the way, we compiled these together, so I think we might even have some disagreement over maybe the order of some of the rest of these. But number 2 on our list, despite maybe not the greatest season happening right now, but the trade for Montez Sweat
did transform the defense for 6 games. But that is number 2 on our list.
Yeah, it's a hard sell just because he hasn't had a great second year, but I think maybe we're chalking it up to playing through injury throughout the season.
We are. We definitely are.
But I definitely like more clarity when the season's over, exactly the extent of how much injury he's playing through, because there's no question. It's like, man, the production just isn't there this year like it was to end last year. But trading a 2nd round pick and getting Montez Sweat and then, signing him to the deal that you signed him to certainly was, a big time move.
4 years, $98 million. Signing bonus was a little over 20. The guaranteed money was a little shy of $42 million.
Well, that's where, if this move gets criticized, it would be the contract.
Right. You gave up a 2nd round pick, and you had to pay the guy.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot. That's why I don't think I would put this number 2, to be honest with you. I think what we're going to have later on, number 5, I would actually have number 2.
Then why didn't you put it?
But I do think this should be because we did this collaboratively. And I didn't want you to get more tweets just yelling at you and Carman, not me.
you're the leader. I mean, you could have made that call, but you didn't. So
Okay. Steven, how flexible are we right now? I'd like to move number 5 up to number 3.
Give me 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. This is now
Made your
my
job
list.
harder
From this
with my
point
big
on,
mouth.
this is my list. This is not their list.
Don't
Greg
lump
gets
me in.
no
Do
say.
not lump me in with him. I am a separate entity. We are not. We are not dating. We are not. Those who want to like tweet and yell at me and Braggs. If you want to yell at me, yell at me. Don't lump me in with this guy and vice
don't
versa.
lump me in with this guy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We're all separate entities.
And
It's not
definitely
like-
don't lump me in with either of them.
I'm gonna tweet at Andy right now.
But that's also. I also want to be lumped in with everybody at the same time because I love this team more than I love Taco Bell.
That was weird.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know.
weird.
I don't know.
But there's other things
Okay.
in life that I love more than you guys. But
Number 3 in Ryan Poles' best moves as Bears general manager, creating a healthy salary cap situation.
yay.
Well, that does matter. It's just, can you do the right things with that salary cap situation, which I think has been the issue so far. But we can at least say that whoever becomes the head coach, or maybe if there is a switch at general manager, you are not entering a disaster, which is what Ryan Poles entered when he got here with the cap, and he had to fix all that. So I do think he gets credit for number 3.
Adam, I agree with you putting number 3 there. It's a great job by you as the leader of this show because he did create the runway for which the Bears were supposed to take off on. Unfortunately, didn't put enough gas in the plane or whatever, but he did create a nice runway.
Number 4 on this list, extending Jalen Johnson and Cole Kmet.
Yeah. Pay your own.
Identifying the draft picks that had worked out ahead of them. I think specifically with Jalen Johnson, there was obviously drama with how all that played out, when it was going to happen, using the franchise tag. But at the end of the day, I think it was a win-win for both sides. And as mad as people randomly are at Cole Kmet for dropping a second pass in 2 years right now, he's still a really good tight end. If you look at where he's slotted in with tight end money across the league, Greg, I know you were looking at this. It's a completely fair, reasonable contract. So I think these were 2 extensions that did make sense.
Right. Everybody's on the firing line right now, so that includes us, and how much we're, tweeting at Andy during our show, or Cole Kmet, for dropping a pass and doing a podcast on a Tuesday. And I understand why, Bears fans. No one is safe right now in Bears Nation, but at the same time, let's let cooler heads prevail and understand the players that are the talent on this team and people that are going to help this team going forward. And certainly Jalen Johnson and Cole Kmet are 2 of those people. And they deserve to be frustrated the way they have been. They've been here the longest. They've gone through the most crap. They've had to go through so many different coaching changes and different, peaks and valleys, obviously more valleys than peaks. And so we're hoping that this head coaching decision gets things right. And then the best players are going to show themselves out when this team has a little more stability.
Well, you want guys in that locker room to know that they will get rewarded by doing things the right way. And Cole and Jalen have both been great leaders in there and have both performed. Sure, it's gotten a little bit wonky as of late, but for both of them, for the record.
All right, and then number 5 on this list, one of the underrated free agent signings, but signing TJ Edwards at linebacker.
You might have to. I could argue that's number 1.
Better than the trade?
I mean, TJ's been their best player on defense. He's had a great contract. He's been outstanding in the locker room. TJ that's a hell of a job right there.
Yeah, I think you put that right up there. The best free agent signing? Am I missing any?
Certainly not. No.
Just free agents?
It's not going to be DeAndre Carter.
In terms of value you're getting? Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty good signing. But I also think, is TJ Edwards a blue chip player?
No.
Right. So
he's not, but it still could be argued number 1.
Right. If he had gotten Tremaine Edmonds' contract, I don't think we would be saying that.
So, we wouldn't, but
for the value they got, very, very good.
But actually, if If Tremaine Edmonds was performing like TJ Edwards, he wouldn't be on the other list.
Nick Morion on the chat bringing up a good name that we forgot because he's injured right now, but Andrew Billings being an honorable mention, I think is a great point there, Nick. You know, he got extended last year, and when he's on the field, you know, he's one of their best players. And he certainly has done way more than what you thought his responsibility initially would be, which is to be a run stuffer. He became somebody, big man that's getting in the backfield, you know. So, you know, Andrew Billings, I know he's got a chance to win Walter Payton Man of the Year as well. He's been a great addition to this team.
Honorable mention, Braxton Jones, 5th round pick.
Okay.
Honorable mention,
Tyson Bagent, because you love him with all your heart and soul.
Tyson Bagent should have been on that list, but I lost the battle. Incredible undrafted free agent.
You actually didn't lose that battle. You're just not paying attention.
Oh, it's on there now.
And you missed your mention. That was the honorable mention.
It was in Notion.
It was in the rundown that you never look at. And
here comes the never look at.
Here it comes.
Never look at. Never look at.
Haven't looked at. But no, now you used up your time, a lot of time where we could have talked about Tyson Bagent. So we're moving on to our first break of the show, and then we're going to get to the worst moves of Ryan Poles' tenure so far here.
Longer segment.
But first, if you're looking for the perfect way to elevate your day, Verilife Dispensary. They have everything you need from premium cannabis products to expert advice, whether you're new to cannabis or a connoisseur. They're knowledgeable. Bud tenders are here to help. With 8 convenient locations across Illinois, discovering your perfect experience has never been easier. Verilife proudly offers a price match guarantee, ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. Don't miss out on their latest deals and exclusive offers only at Verilife Cannabis stores and online at verilife.com. And if you place your order online, you can still redeem code CHGO25 at pickup to receive the discount. But mention that code CHGO25 in store, and you will receive 25% off one regular price item. Restrictions apply. Again, that code online or in the store, CHGO25.
We need you to go to the store and get this done. Arlington Heights, River North, Rosemont, Schaumburg, Romeoville, North Aurora, Ottawa, Galena. They open at 8 in the morning. They stay open until 10 at night. Get there, Verilife. You're up, Greg.
I'm up. I'm not up.
You're not.
Mm-mm. Not up.
You're not up.
Well, sorry.
I work with idiots.
Yeah. This was supposed to be you.
I believe your name is Braggs.
No,
all right, let me tell you guys about Factor, because you know how the days are getting shorter, but your to-do list, they're not getting any shorter. Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals from breakfast to dinner and anything in between. Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Between the 17 shows I do every week, I don't have a lot of time to eat. Factor has come in clutch because in just a few minutes I can pop these fresh meals in the microwave, be ready to go, and they always taste delicious. Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenient options you can add to your box, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. Don't let shorter days slow you down. Stay energized with America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. Use your time more efficiently. So important during these dark months. Let Factor take shopping, prepping, cooking, and cleaning off your daily list of things to do. Head to factormeals.com/CHGO Bears 50. Use that code CHGO Bears 50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code CHGO Bears 50 at factormeals.com/CHGO Bears 50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Let's get straight into the list of the worst moves Ryan Poles has made. We got Baldy coming up in about 10 minutes. Need to talk to him. And we get to number 1 on this list, which we had a little bit of debate over this, but I think
I won this debate.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with you. Allowing Shane Waldron to be hired. I mean, we're just skipping ahead. Number 2 is pretty much Matt Eberflus and anything having to do with Matt Eberflus. But I don't think it's a stretch to say this is worse because, you can argue how much say Ryan Poles really had or freedom to keep Matt Eberflus last year. But once that move was made or forced on him, depending on how you want to look at it, you knew you were taking Caleb Williams and you had to get the OC hire right. And not only did you get it wrong, but it was an epic disaster from pretty much the very beginning.
Look, right. You interviewed 13 candidates, one of whom knew Caleb intimately well and got Jaden Daniels off to a great start.
And another of whom is now your head coach.
That too. And somehow, some way, you sat in a room, listened to Shane Waldron speak, and thought that that's the guy. Hard to believe, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, everybody will say, well, hey, Matt Eberflus should be on that. Well, we don't know. I think there's a fair suggestion that, A, Matt Eberflus was married to Ryan Poles when Ryan Poles was hired, and B, the inability of being able to fire Matt Eberflus in January because of his contract. So, with that being said, you're having Matt Eberflus be your head coach through a rebuild like Rick Renteria once was for the Cubs. But when you hire Shane Waldron knowing that Caleb Williams is coming into Hallis Hall a few months later, you had to get that right. And you interviewed 10 different OC candidates and you only bring one back for a second interview. And that person being Shane Waldron, who is easily now the worst, hindsight being 2020, the worst candidate of all the OCs that you could have had, including Thomas Brown, who is now the interim head coach. I mean, when you talk about this being a failure of a hire on Shane Waldron, that's an understatement. This has been a complete disaster for the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles.
Number 2 on the list, hiring Matt Eberflus, and then grouped together with this, retaining Matt Eberflus after year 2. Not much to debate about this one. He is now not the head coach, and it was a mistake. It didn't go well.
Well, the only part of the debate, it's not even a debate, but the question is, was he told to hire him? And let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, he was told to hire him. That sucks. That's on the Bears. Not as much.
At minimum, he had the choice between Matt Eberflus and Dan Quinn.
There was 3 names.
Yes.
Caldwell in there too.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that they said pick any of them and they weren't saying we really like Matt? It feels to me like they said we really like Matt.
We'll never know. I mean, it's all speculation.
It doesn't matter. You're hired as the GM. You need to speak up and hire the right guy.
I'm not going to push back on that. That's true.
Well,
you do.
And not only that, you could have not taken the job as well. If
you're being forced to hire a head coach, then don't take the job. Get on the plane to Minnesota the next day.
Well, to that point, I do wonder what percentage of him, and I guarantee it ain't 0, that he is debating, you know what, the worst decision in my life is that I did not get on that plane to Minnesota and see what the Minnesota Vikings had to say to me. Because they're telling me who to hire. By the way, I'm supposed to report to George McCaskey, but, oh, wait, 3 months later, whatever it was, now there's Kevin Warren. And now when I want to fire the guy, I can't fire him. Fast forward 2.5 years later. And now you want me to sit there at the press conference after I fired the coach and not say anything because Kevin Warren's talking. That's a rough situation there for Ryan.
All right, number 3 on this list of Ryan Poles' worst moves as Bears general manager, the Chase Claypool trade. Also,
don't go back and watch our podcast on that because we were very excited. And then don't go back and watch any of the training camp shows either because somebody else was really excited still.
Best player in camp.
I'm going to pay for that comment. I don't know in which way I'll pay for it, but I'm going to pay for it.
That's right.
Yeah, well, regardless, it's...
Think about that one, though, too. Can we just...
It's not our job to be right about the trades. It's his job to be right about the trades, and it was not good. Second-round pick, utter disaster, had to get rid of him.
I desperately need to get somebody in here that I'm willing to give up a second-round pick on a team that's tanking to help out Justin Fields. Let me look around. Who can I get? Let's go with Chase Claypool.
Well, let's not forget, too, though. We keep calling it a second-round pick. It was effectively a first-round pick because the Dolphins forfeited their first-round pick, making it the 32nd pick in the draft.
Right when it happened, people were like, well, it's got to not be the Bears pick. It's got to not be it's the Bears pick. That sucks.
Yeah, not good. Number 4. My hands were on this one. Passing on Jalen Carter.
Your fault.
How's it my fault?
You should have influenced him. You should have told him.
I tried.
You were a big advocate for Darnell Wright.
Now, the only reason this would be higher is because, Darnell Wright's solid. He's probably a slightly above average starter at right tackle. But Jalen Carter is looking like a future Hall of Famer. And just as important is the defensive line, and he would be exactly the wrecking ball they need on the defensive line. And so the fact that he was right there for you could have taken him, and you didn't, is why passing on Jalen Carter, who would be the most talented player, easily the most talented draft pick that Ryan Poles made.
You think about Ryan Poles' best move being the trade to the Panthers. That could have included Jalen Carter within that bring back. I mean, it's so you could argue it's the worst thing, the best move and the worst move he made, because you go from 1 to 9 and you still have, because that's why if there was Bears fans saying stay at 2 or stay at 4 because they wanted Jalen Carter. Then you get him at 9 and then you still pass him up. You trade back to 10.
Yeah. And to Eli's point, they can't handle Tyreek Stevenson. How would they handle Jalen Carter?
Yeah, but Jalen Carter hasn't been a headache since he got there.
Right. And just rewinding back to the time, they're deciding to not pick him because they didn't have enough veteran leadership to make sure that Jalen Carter comes correct. But then you always hear about how great their culture is. If you really believe in your culture.
Yeah, that never made sense to me at the time. We talked about that on the show at the time. Like, it's sort of an indictment if you don't feel like your organization can't handle them.
Yeah, and I was high and mighty guy. No, he made a huge mistake not having a guy who leaves a car accident where people lost their lives on my football team. But I probably was, let's just say it like that. I was wrong.
Yeah, but that doesn't make the list of Carm's 5 worst takes on the show, though.
Oh, thank you, Adam. That's very nice of you to.
I think that was technically an insult, but
no, I don't understand. I'm here.
Number 5, failing to re-sign David Montgomery. Partially why this one's so tough is because he is now on a team in your division and seemingly just every week making a highlight move. And this seemed to come down to, like, who knows, $1 million?
You had a solid to very good player who was reliable, who was well respected in the locker room, who wasn't going to be super expensive, who wanted to stay but wanted to be given the monetary respect that he thought he deserved.
Yeah. But he listened to Braggs.
Right. You just decided that you didn't need any of that, and you've been chasing running backs ever since. And now you've paid more for a guy in DeAndre Swift who's not as good as David Montgomery.
All right. I think chasing running backs is tall.
Is it?
Khalil Herbert led the league in yards per carry a couple years ago. They have DeAndre Swift. He's going to have over 1,000 yards this year.
How many running backs did they have last year?
You need more than one on your team. They've got 2 on the Lions, and the one that they drafted the same year they brought in David Montgomery is better than David Montgomery. All due respect to Montgomery, the issue of letting go of David Montgomery and why it hurts the Chicago Bears is less about how great of a running back he is. He's a very solid running back, and it's more about the lack of leadership that this team has. So I'll give you that aspect of it. I've been, harping on this all year that this team lacks legitimate leadership, and David Montgomery has that in bunches.
Yeah. We got to get going here. So last few on this list, by the way, this is going beyond 5, unlike the best moves. Number 6, the Nate Davis signing. If you want to argue this one should be higher, I'll listen to you.
Absolutely should be higher than Chase Claypool. 100%.
Worse than Chase Claypool?
100%.
They give him a
See,
second
my argument for why this doesn't need to be higher is that at the end of the day, it wasn't a terrible amount of money. It didn't cost them anything. It didn't put them in
Any
salary.
amount of money for Nate Davis was a terrible amount of money. And the amount of years we had to deal with trying to figure out how much he wanted to, commit to playing for the Bears took way too much time. And the offensive line has been an absolute mess. It's a trickle-down effect to the rest of the offense. It's definitely worse than Chase Claypool.
I strongly disagree with that because I think second-round draft capital is way more valuable than the money
fact that the next one is this failure to fix the center position, both those don't make the top 5 when offensive line is literally their biggest problem for the last 4 years, I think is short-sighted.
Well, then why didn't you speak up in the meeting when we ordered?
But
you're the leader.
Regardless, but the point. Forget the numbers. The point is that you can keep going and going and going right now, and it's alarming, to say the least.
Yes, we did have failure to draft the center position on here, and then finally drafting Velus Jones also makes the list.
We should have put Velus Jones.
And I'll say this: no GM is perfect. As we get ready to take a break, no GM is perfect. And I can understand when a GM makes mistakes. And I can rationalize the logic of each of the moves they made, from drafting Velus Jones in the 3rd round, doesn't work out fine. Trying to get stopgap center guys that didn't work out. Nate Davis wanted to sign a veteran, free agent offensive lineman, didn't work out. Not re-signing David Montgomery, drafting Darnell Wright over Jalen Carter because you need offensive line help, trading for Chase Claypool because you needed a wide receiver to see what you had in Justin Fields, even hiring Matt Eberflus when you did. The only one of this entire list that you cannot rationalize for any logic whatsoever is hiring Shane Waldron over the rest of the people in that bunch and then not addressing the issues that he had early in the season and let it bleed all the way into November before you fired him.
All right. We will have Baldy join us next because it is that time on Wednesday, our favorite time of the week with Brian Baldinger. But first.
That's right. I want to give a shout out to our guys over at CHSN. We're sponsored by Chicago Sports Network, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core. And they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and White Sox games all season long.
And thank you to our friends at Game Time Picks. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together to live events, the experience is that much better. Get those tickets for those live events with Game Time Picks, which makes it easier to get tickets than ever. They filter out the fluff. They give you the incredible deals. You get to see the great seats, and you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets with Game Time Picks. These are the best value, the best seat for your dollar. Game Time tells you it. They've got the super deal. They've got seat views before you buy. They've got the lowest price guarantee, which is sweet. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create that account, redeem code CHGO, $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Baldy.
It's also time for Baldy. Brian Baldinger.
Let's go.
On the show here on this Wednesday. Baldy, how you doing, first of all? Oh, no, audio problems again. Okay. Hey, Baldy, I'm not sorry to interrupt you. I think we're having the same issue we had last week for some reason. I don't know why. But if you want to try to use your phone like we did last week. Oh, there it is. We got it. We got it. Baldy's there.
Hey, buddy.
There we go.
Just got to push the right button. That's all, guys.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Could you do that for the Bears?
Yeah, the Bears are trying to push the right buttons too.
Trying to mute the Bears. I had to spend the morning with the Jets, so that's always that's always full of adventure when you go up there. never know what's going to happen when you walk into that building. But I'm sure it's very similar in Chicago right now.
Yes, 100%. Go ahead, Carp.
Okay, I'm going to start with Caleb Baldy before we get into the big picture of the Bears. And just in your mind, why do you think the Bears, Caleb, the offense, is having so much trouble starting the game with any level of success?
What do you mean, like when they're down 24-0 last week? So I looked it up. Just I figured this was going to come up. So only the Giants have scored fewer points in the first half this year than the Bears. So it's obviously, so it's a consistent thing. They're averaging 7.5 points in the first half this year. So it seems like nothing ever gets fixed until they go into the locker room, and then you see a little bit of a turnaround. So it makes you wonder why they just can't start like that. Like, what happens at halftime that all of a sudden, you actually start completing passes? But the big thing, like last week, I think every week it feels like it's a little bit different, different coordinators. And I didn't understand what Shane was doing to start the season, to be honest with you. But, like, they got sacked 4 straight third downs in a row. 4 straight third downs in a row they were sacked and punting, And so if you're not making first downs, if you're not staying on the field, you're not scoring. So it does come down to, like sometimes you don't need to get to third down to get a first down. You make it actually on first down. Well, that doesn't happen very often either. So, like, the protection was bad. The blitzes were good. The answer, everybody was in on it. 3rd and 2, I don't know why they're throwing or running, 15-yard routes on 3rd and 2, but they were. So, Caleb's holding the ball and he's getting sacked. It seemed like everybody last week that had their hands in it and why they couldn't stay on the field on 3rd down.
So, I think we were all kind of shocked by it because it seemed like things had been moving in a good direction. But I guess that comes back to good coaching, right? Because once you put things on tape, other teams are going to adjust. Now you're facing a 49ers team last week that was struggling, sure, but they're not playing the Bills anymore in the snow. They're back at home. They're playing the Bears, and it seemed like a good coaching staff. To me, watching the film, Baldy, had answers right away for on both sides of the ball. What Thomas Brown was trying to do with Caleb, and then on the other side, the Bears had a coordinator switch. Sort of the underrated part of firing Matt Eberflus was now Eric Washington's calling the defense, and boy, did they have George Kittle running wide open early and often.
So I do this thing with the 49ers every Tuesday, and the week before against Buffalo, George Kittle caught the first play of the game. He caught a 7-yard pass. Didn't catch another pass the rest of the day. So, like, I was on there, George didn't use the media to, sound off. They just asked him, so, George, you caught a pass on the first play, didn't catch a pass the rest of the game? He goes, yep. Like he was icy cold, right? So I used to play tight end. Like, I watch tight ends all the time. And I said I could draw up 5 plays to get the tight end the ball and against any defense in the league. I'd run a tight end screen. That's the first play they ran. 4th play of the game. I'd run a tight end tunnel screen. They ran that. I'd run, a quick out, against leverage, coming in motion. I mean, the same 5 plays I said you could run, they actually called all 5. It's not that hard. You can do the same thing with Cole if you wanted to. You just have to do it. You have to say, okay, we're going to put aside all the fancy things we want to do in offense, pre-snap motion, shifting, all this stuff. Like, let's just draw up some basic plays. I feel like they were doing that a little bit with DJ a couple weeks ago. They put him in the backfield. They threw hitches to him. I just feel like sometimes you got to get the ball in your playmakers. We saw it from Jamar Chase on Monday night. Like, the first play of the game is in the backfield, and they just threw a hitch to him. The first run of the game, they ran a fly sweep to him. They just said to the Cowboys and to Jamar, we're going to put the ball in your hands today. And I just think sometimes all this stuff is over. Like, it makes it too complicated. It shouldn't really be that hard sometimes.
Go ahead.
So would you say the Bears made a mistake in putting Thomas Brown down on the sidelines with the momentum they had on offense the last 3 weeks? Because, we were, on this program, a big advocate of seeing the audition of what he could do down there. Yeah. But now, what do you think in that regard?
Well, it's a change, but it's not like guys haven't called plays from being upstairs and come down the field. I mean, that stuff happens throughout a season sometimes. but not when you all of a sudden have all this other responsibility and you got to be down there. I do think it takes away from your focus of calling plays. When you're upstairs, you got all your spreadsheets out there. You're like an accountant up there. You got all your spreadsheets out there. You see the leverage that whether the safeties or corners are playing with. You see the personnel before anybody else sees it coming on the field. You kind of have a head start. In Philadelphia, Vic Fangio calls his defense from upstairs. Like, it's not – some guys just get a better perspective. If you're down there in the field and now you're trying to figure out, I don't know what Eric Washington was doing, honestly. I don't know the defense knew what they were doing last week. So now you look at the defense. Now you're trying to call plays. But the big thing about a coordinator, if you're just doing that job, is as soon as that series ends, good or bad, you're already putting the play sheet together for the next series. And you're already talking to the quarterback, what you like, what you saw, what we didn't use, what was our issue on that last third down blitz. Whatever it is, like you're ahead of it. But if you're now kind of managing the whole game, a lot of that sort of gets diluted and lost. And I'm not saying that happened to Thomas Brown, but obviously they weren't sharp at all in the first half offensively. And you just have to wonder, did that come into play?
So Caleb hasn't thrown an interception, Baldy, since the Bears played in London, which is the last time they won a game. So we got 7 losses in a row, no picks, 255 consecutive throws. Which could be impressive, and I'm not trying to knock on the guy for it because that's ridiculous, but I also throw an interception. It's okay. In fact, there's 4 games to go. Throw a bunch of them. Like, what would you be telling Caleb, or what would you be trying to get out of these final 4 games when you literally are playing for nothing?
Well, my favorite player, maybe in the history of this game, is your biggest nemesis, was Brett Favre. He has the all-time interception leader. And I remember one playoff game, he threw 5. And he was like, I'm trying to win the game. Like, I don't care about the interception. I'm trying to win the game. And they lost the game, whatever. But honestly, I could go through the history of quarterbacks in this league, whether it's Alex Smith or Donovan McNabb. They didn't want to throw interceptions, and they never won anything. They won a lot of games. They were good quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes never worries about throwing interceptions. Like, it's water off his back. He's trying to win. And Josh Allen has done the same thing. Like, you have to be aggressive in this league. Like, they're having big controversy in Philadelphia because Jalen Hurts isn't getting the ball down the field to wide receivers. Well, he doesn't want to throw interceptions. So he's not throwing interceptions, and they're winning games, which is good. And they have a formula, which is good. But quarterbacks have to be aggressive, and you got to let the ball fly. Like, if you're not getting explosive plays in your offense, you're not scoring a lot of points. You're just not. You got to take your shots. And sometimes that leads to interceptions, tip balls, jump balls. Sam Darnold threw some unbelievable throws last week, but he was taking shots, and his receivers came down with it. Like, you have to take your shots. All the rules are made for it, and if you're not getting explosive plays, especially in the passing game, you're probably not scoring in the high 20s or 30s.
Baldy, I want to ask you a couple kind of around the NFL questions. One of these, and literally just more information coming out right now, is our show was starting, and it seemed like Bill Belichick was getting closer and closer to actually taking this job with North Carolina. Schefter just literally just tweeted this. Sources tell ESPN there are still issues that both sides need to work through before it becomes official. It does seem like a more real thing, though, by the hour. What is your reaction just to Bill Belichick not taking one of these open NFL jobs and apparently going to the college game?
Well, I mean, he's right down the second floor here. I could go down and ask him, I guess. But I think,
would you go ask him,
every
please?
college now basically has a general manager. Basically, have a general manager. Like, they're going to handle all the NIL stuff. Like, he's going to recruit these kids and say, if you want to play the next level, these are the things that you need to do. These are the practice habits. These are the traits. This is the skills the league is looking for. Like, I think he could do a great job, working with those type of kids like Nick did at Alabama. And he got them in the door and saying, okay, you want to play at the next level, I can get you ready, but this is what you need to do. Weight room, focus, like preparation. Like, I think he could be pretty good like that. And Mac Brown just stepped away. I mean, he did a great job at North Carolina. It would make me happy being a Duke guy if Bill Belichick is coaching 9 miles away in Chapel Hill. We'll probably never beat him again, but I can see him making a play for this. Because honestly, he doesn't have to worry about free agency and draft and all that stuff. His name is going to draw a great deal of attention. They'll have somebody handling all the finances and all the stuff you got to do these college kids. I don't know. I guess the hard part would be if a kid isn't starting and he walks into his office and says, "Coach, I'm going to go to South Carolina next year. They got an opening for me." I don't know how he's going to handle some of that stuff because that's not going to play well with him.
So they reported yesterday that Bill Belichick has a Bible that he's given to UNC and has some for NFL teams too.
How many pages is that? I heard it was like.
Well, that's what I want to know. Do you have access to this Bible? And I know you see Bill. Could you get a copy and send one to us so we could understand football on a higher level here in Chicago?
Oh man, I would love to get my hands on that thing. That's one book that I would read cover to cover. Like I can't say I'm reading a whole lot of books cover to cover right now, but if I got my hands on that, I would definitely go page by page on that one.
Yeah, but hold on. Look, you're North Carolina. Here's a dude showing up here with a 400-page Bible. I don't know. I know it's Bill Belichick, but like that seems like not the most easy partnership to step into. And the other part, Baldy, he is going to set the record for the most wins in NFL history. He's going to pass Don Shula. I know Andy Reid might pass him down the line here, but like, is he doing this because he doesn't think he's going to get an NFL job or the NFL jobs suck? Go ahead.
I would imagine, look, what if he took that Atlanta job last year and Kirk Cousins was playing like he's playing right now? Like, would he bench Kirk to play the rookie? Like all those decisions were made beyond him. So I don't know how he would be handling that in Atlanta when I just saw Atlanta. The Chargers were there in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. He threw 4 interceptions, a pick 6. They lost because of them, and nobody was in the stands. So now you got to listen to Arthur Blank. Now, I don't know. But maybe they're not in that situation if he's coaching. Maybe Kirk is playing a different style of football, but who knows? But maybe it's a leverage play. I don't pretend to understand. I know Gronkowski and Brady and all those guys were on Fox on Sunday, and they all just shut the thing down that he would go to North Carolina. But I think there's an attraction there. Like he was on the sideline at LSU a couple weeks ago. Like I think there's an attraction there. Like there's juice in those stands on Sundays or Saturdays. And I think getting kids ready for the next level, I think there's some challenges there that he would like. But I think part of it is I don't know if he thinks he's going to get opportunities in Jacksonville or Chicago or, or some of these Jets or Giants or some of these places that are going to be open.
Which is crazy to me, but regardless, I'll give it up. But now you're starting to hear Mike Vrabel's name really start to heat up. Yesterday we had Jeremy Fowler on, and that was the first person he cited as somebody the Bears might be interested in. You've heard multiple reports from, all the guys, Ian Rappaport, Albert.
I like Mike. I like his game day style, though. Like, I want to coach. Like, you watch some coaches, they look like they're completely detached from the game. They're just standing there. They're not doing a lot. They're not even talking into their headset. Like, if you watch Mike, obviously Tomlin is Mike Tomlin. But, I want a coach that's engaged. And you watch Mike Vrabel coach. If a player makes a boneheaded play out there on the field, he's going to deal with Mike right away and fix it. Like, you're not, just the way Tomlin does. Like, I like his style. He's very, very involved in the game. Like, he's right there on top of everything. And it looks like what coaches should be doing. He's not just in the hands of all of his coordinators calling the plays and that stuff. Like, he's heavily, heavily involved in every decision, and he's animated and you can see it. I like his intensity. His offensive line completely fell apart at the end in Tennessee, but he had a good formula there. They were the number 1 seed just 3 years ago. They did lose to Cincinnati in the playoff game. They didn't have great success there. But I believe Mike Vrabel, second time around, will be even better than he was the first time.
His first comment when he got the Tennessee job, just for a record, like on his press conference, we want to build a culture around winning, competitiveness, and toughness. Everything we do is going to be geared towards winning and being physical. We want to prepare our players so they know what to do, which will allow them to play fast and aggressive. I mean, that sells in Chicago. I know, probably in any football city, but it certainly sells here. So just to underline what you're saying, Baldy.
Well, they were the number 1 defense in football when they were the number 1 seed. Jeffrey Simmons, like that was nobody wanted to deal with those guys. Autry, Simmons, Landry, like Dupree, like they were the best. They made life miserable for Patrick Mahomes. Like I saw a game where like I think he completed 9 passes against him one time. Like he was running for his life all day. Like they were exactly what Mike described his team to be. That's how they played.
This just came across my timeline, and he seemed like the perfect person to ask about it and get the reaction. But we got the owners' meetings going on right now, I think in Dallas. I guess Troy Vincent just came out and said the league will look into outlawing the low block, saying, quote, every block should be above the knee but below the neck. This is the right time to remove the low block out of the game. Boy, the league has changed a lot since you played. I'm just curious. I mean, but some of it's for the better. Some of it might be for the worse, depending on how you look at it. I'm just curious what your reaction is to hearing that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what tight ends are going to do, that basically seal the backside of all these inside runs, and they all cut the defensive end or outside linebacker every time. I mean, you remember the play 2 years ago, Kayvon Thibodeau was a rookie. They hit his knee and missed like the first 6 weeks of the season or something. Like, my answer to that to Troy is, well, be a good athlete and protect yourself. Cut blocks are a part of the game. They've always been. We first practice in Dallas every year was practicing cut blocks on screenplays for Dorsett. I mean, I don't know, like be a better athlete and protect yourself. Stay on your feet. So I don't know, like I think you can outlaw a lot of this stuff. You can try to legislate it, but what's the game become if you can't do some of those things?
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, you guys got anything else for Baldy this week?
I mean, let me just ask this question one more time. If you're the Bears, you got 4 games left. You're Thomas Brown. Embarrassing for week 1. What are you trying to get out of Minnesota coming up Monday night? Like what? How do you move this forward here right now, Baldy, that you can get some value out of the rest of the season?
Well, Sam Darnold was just the NFC Player of the Week last week. He was practically. I did a game against Lamb. He was practically perfect. 5 touchdown passes, nearly a perfect quarterback rating. They lead the league in takeaways, lead the league in interceptions. I'm sorry. Like, go out there and play a mistake-free game and go beat a good team. Like, that team is under the radar, but they think they can still catch Detroit. They still play them. Like, go knock them out. Like, go beat a good team and sell everybody in that locker room at the end of the game. Yes, I know they had the field goal blocked at the end a couple weeks ago, but go beat a good team and go in the locker room and feel good about yourself. It's a holiday season. Everybody wants to be in a good holiday spirit. Go beat a good team and put yourself in a holiday spirit. Like, go knock the living hell out of that team. Like, you can run the ball against the Vikings. I just saw the Cardinals run it against them. I just saw the Falcons run it against them. Go run the ball at them. That's how you stop Brian Flores from blitzing you. Like, do something good out there. Go make yourself feel good.
Well, I mean, we'll let you go here, but it just bugged me watching that game and seeing how the Niners went down on the first drive, and it felt like they gave up as soon as that drive happened to them as a team. And then you're seeing them doing these different celebrations at the end of the game in the fourth quarter down 30. And I just ask, like, where is the pride? And it just feels like these guys aren't playing with any sense of pride. And so I worry about guys on this team that have, I think, high leadership qualities and abilities, but they are on a team that's crumbling, in every facet, with the head coach getting fired. And so I worry going forward that these guys are going to kind of fall off of what kind of leaders they could have been because they're in a culture that's so toxic.
I agree with all that, but if I was any one of those 5 offensive linemen that are playing, like literally they're playing, every one of those guys, including Darnell Wright, they're playing for a job next year because none of them could be there next year. None of them. And Braxton, Tevin, you name it. Like they're all, to me, they're all on notice. Like if I was any one of those guys, Matt Pryor, like I would be literally playing for my NFL career. Like I'd want to put the best game I've played all year on tape this week and next week and the week after. And to your point, they didn't look very enthused out there in San Francisco. And the body language did stink. And it didn't look like when they missed tackles, like it was that big. I mean, Isaac Guerrero is a good back. but it's his first NFL start. Like, I didn't see anybody smack him. Nothing. Like, he's catching these screen passes, and I don't know. Like, that's not exactly what I would want to do to a rookie. Like, he didn't put the ball on the ground. He didn't do anything. He looked like a great San Francisco 49er back. That was disappointing to me as a Bear. Like, as a guy that watches the Bears every week, I'm like, this kid's making his first NFL start. How about welcoming him to the NFL? He doesn't know what it's about. Like, he's just been a backup player all year. And I didn't see anybody smack him. Not once. So that was disappointing to me.
Baldy, on the other side of the ball, our reporter, Nicholas Moriano, who was at the game and after the locker room, he tells us afterwards on our postgame show, they asked Braxton Jones, the left tackle, about the slow starts. And his response was basically like, I don't know. I'm just the offensive lineman. Like, I don't know. And that bothered me because I don't know. The football I know, the offensive line sets the tone. Like, come out of the gates, knocking people over.
Braxton Jones, first of all, Yetur Gross-Matos got a hat trick last Sunday against him. He beat him on back-to-back sacks. Like, first of all, I wouldn't talk to anybody if I just gave back-to-back. That kid was in Yetur Gross-Matos. You didn't even know he had played all year. He did nothing in any game. It's the first game he showed up in. Like, I didn't even know why he was. Like, honestly, he was a free agent signing. I thought, okay, he's a backup swing guy with Bosa and Leonard Floyd, whatever. But, like, if you give up a hat trick, like, you shouldn't be talking to anybody. Like, you should just be in your locker room with a towel over your head and get the hell out of there.
All right. Well, Baldy, appreciate your time.
Sounds like Baldy thinks the Bears need a left tackle.
I think they need a left tackle.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot. Baldy, hope you have a great weekend, and appreciate you as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. I'll talk to you. You bet.
All right, there is Brian Baldinger here on CHGO Bears.
And for the record, that sucks. Not that that's breaking news. But it would have been sweet if Braxton Jones could have cemented himself in that spot, and it just hasn't happened.
But I agree with what Baldy's saying. I honestly think this has plagued the Bears since the Ryan Pace era. Like, we used to talk about all the time about how Pace dominated the fifth round. And all these players that we're talking about that were fifth round picks. And it's like, okay, yeah, there were some good value picks there.
Right.
Are any of them blue chip players?
Right.
Like, was Bilal Nichols a blue chip player? Darnell Mooney, I'm glad he's having a renaissance with the Falcons right now. He's not a number one wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like, we take some of these above average players and treat them like they're blue chippers because why? Because we don't know what good players look like in this town.
Well,
we really don't.
If you want to go down that road, which I will gladly follow you.
You know who's a good player? Khalil Mack. When he dominated that first half at Lambeau Field in his first game. And we all sat there and were like, holy shit.
Right. Well,
that's a Hall of Fame player.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and we did the polls list. Is it a slam dunk right move that they traded Khalil Mack? I mean, well, I think they needed to because of the cap situation, and they did get a second round pick in return.
The dude's
Khalil Mack still. You go talk to any team prepping to play the Chargers right now, and what are they talking about? The coaches are still scared of Khalil Mack.
He's one of the top free agents coming up right now. He's gonna get a 2-year, $30 million type of contract, and I doubt the Bears will be in on it. But that's one of the guys that's gonna, he's still doing it. Look, the trade for DJ Moore was great. DJ Moore is a very good receiver. He ain't a true number one. No, he's not. He ain't Justin Jefferson. He's not that level. He's a good player, really good player. But we get excited about, like, we to your point, I think we overvalue guys all the time. And it can get a little, everybody seems to be slotted a little bit, like, one higher than what they really should be. In an ideal, you're going to win the Super Bowl.
In the entire organization.
Yes.
In the entire organization.
Exactly. Everywhere. Ryan Poles right now feels like he should be an assistant GM still waiting for his turn versus running the whole thing. You certainly didn't have it in the head coach. I don't know what go ahead. What do you, yeah?
I'm just laughing because our guy JT O'Sullivan's back in the chat from the QB school saying, not the wide receiver one takes.
I mean, Is he? Am I?
No, because he agrees with you.
Okay, good.
And he gets killed for Bears fans all the time.
Yeah, but by the way, as we get to the top of the hour, thank you so much for watching us on the big TV. Become a diehard, live the dream. ALLCHGO.com, $48. Get yourself a free T-shirt. Maybe we'll make a wide receiver 1 T-shirt. Still searching.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think the wide receiver 1, 2, 3 conversation is
that's right.
A little bit overrated. It's to me, it's more about how you're using them, and I don't think that they've been using them properly. I think it's gotten better since the coordinator change, but no, DJ Moore is a good wide receiver in this league. To me, he's not your ideal X receiver. Like, that's really what the conversation should be about, in my opinion. Instead of like being like, who's number 1, who's number 2? It's how you're using these guys. And Rome should be the go up and get it guy, the contested catch guy. By the way, already missed it. Become a diehard anyway.
He already did it.
But oh, thank you.
Yeah, agreed. Who is the wide receiver on the team that runs by people?
Well, DJ Moore is.
Yeah, but not fast enough. It's just not fast enough.
Well, he's the catch it and go and run guy.
I understand. He's the crafty. Give it to him in space. Let him find his room. He's excellent at that.
Are you talking about who's the go down?
I'm talking about go down the field, beat your dude. You're fast as hell. No one's catching you. We don't have it. They do not have that guy. The only guy that could possibly do it is the dude that can't get off the bench.
In fairness, there's probably only like 5 of those guys in the entire league.
Not a lot of them. Sure. Correct.
There's a lot of guys who can run fast, but, add in the crafty route running and catch the ball.
But, like,
yeah.
Forget it. It helps your entire offense if you have somebody that can, it doesn't even be that great, but can actually threaten to take the top off the defense. So they have to respect it. They do not have it. That does not help them.
I thought you were about to say Tyler Scott should be active.
I do think Tyler Scott should be active. Put anybody out there with a good attitude who's going to play really hard. Yeah.
Did you see what Roma Dunze's dad tweeted yesterday?
I did. Go ahead. Why don't you tell people?
One of Bears Twitter's favorites, he tweeted a thing that said Roma Dunze would have 1,100 yards on any other NFC North team, and James Adunze, Rome's dad, quote tweeted and said 1,500. And
now we got James Adunze, Carl Williams.
James is always tweeting about, tweeting something. He's defending his, believes, very highly in his son. But, yeah, definitely spurred some extracurricular conversation about, the Bears and if players are happy with their standing on the team. And, I think Roma Dunze is very capable of 1,500 yards, here going forward. I think he's a great wide receiver. But
as somebody who loves my son and believes in my son, 1,500 yards? Even Justin Jefferson only had 1,400 as a rookie.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. More yards than what he has. Yeah. I think was the overall point. I'm not saying.
I wish my dad believed in me like that.
Oh, come on, Papa Fred.
It's a really hard world out there, Mark. I don't know if there's anything you could possibly do to be successful, but, just try, and maybe someday you'll get lucky at something. Thank you, Dad.
All right. Well,
I love my dad. Going to be 99 on Monday, Papa Fred.
On Monday?
99. Bears, Vikings, and Papa Fred. Don't worry, we're celebrating with a Sunday night dinner. What should we do for the 99?
We should get Fred and Virginia together.
Okay, now I'm uncomfortable. Fred would look so cross-eyed at Virginia. Gale Sayers. My dad definitely thinks Gale Sayers is the greatest running back in
history.
Think
about that, though. 47 years of happiness for Fred and then 52 years with you.
Wow.
51. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Blaze the Nug says, "Oh my God, Carman's gonna live to 100."
I'm trying out. Blaze the Nugs. My habits are kind of better. My dad would.
Well,
wreck his favorite. Well,
you
meal
know
is
what they
Grimace.
say.
Dr. Pepper and gum over there.
You know what they say, Nugs.
This guy's kicking it. Maybe tomorrow.
You know what they say, Nugs. Only the good die young.
You're gonna somehow find something, then turn your life around. We just don't know when.
I don't know what that means.
All right. Fun show. Thanks to Brian Baldinger for being on. Thank you for everybody for arguing with our Ryan Pohl's good and bad list, including one of our co-hosts who had say in the list, but apparently didn't have say.
Shout out to Chim Richels, who just said that my dad had me when he was 75. That's exactly right. Thank you, Chim.
Yeah, that's right. Quickly, let's get to super chats before we get out of here. Marky Mark, what's Bill doing?
I have no idea.
Bill Belichick?
That's what I assume he's talking about.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the New York Giants don't want to hire Bill Belichick?
I don't know that they want to fire their own coach.
Okay. I mean,
I agree with you, but I think this whole thing was we're going to test the waters and see what type of feedback we get, hoping somebody flies in with the stop sign, and no one did, including the Bears, apparently.
Okay. Dude wants to coach.
Patrick Wetzel's 15-pound sterling. Guys, we need our London vibes again. Where did it all go wrong?
Man, do we ever.
Greetings, your Dutch Manchester friend, Patrick. P.S. It was awesome seeing you in London.
Patrick, you're the man.
I left my entire life and happiness in London.
They were 4-2. What was that our first stop when we were at that bar on a whatever afternoon? And
The Crutch and Friar?
the Crutch and Friar.
Yeah, that was a great place.
Brandon Spano, Lindsey Spano, the whole team. Just, everything felt possible. Now, will they win another game this year? If you had to bet on that, what would you bet?
I was thinking about that this morning, by the way. They might lose out.
It's right there. If you had to bet, for real, you had to bet a lot
Bears.
of money that it would impact your ability to buy Dr. Pepper. Would you bet yes or no?
No, I don't think they're going to lose out.
You think they'll win a game?
Do
Okay.
you think it's more likely to go 2-2 or 0-4?
2-2.
Really?
Yeah.
Based on what?
The
Packers
don't
don't play anybody in Week 18?
This Bears team is very unpredictable of how they're going to show up week to week. So I don't think Minnesota's unbeatable. I don't, Detroit in Chicago. What's the weather temperature going to be that day? That's like the second outdoor game Detroit's going to play all year. And then you've got Seattle on a short week at home on a Thursday night. Seattle has to come all the way across, the country to play the day after Christmas. How cold is that game going to be? And then the final game of the season is against the Packers. And are they playing their starters?
So you think they're winning out?
No, I don't think they're winning out, but because I think they do have.
Imagine if they won out. That would be so annoying.
Exactly. It would be annoying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it would be. They're not going to do that.
Why would it be
But if
annoying?
you're asking me what they have a better chance of doing, 2-2 or 0-4, I do think they're going to win at least one game. So I'll give 2-2 a better shot than 0-4, which I think has no shot at this point.
It'd be annoying because
You think there's no shot they go 0-4?
No, there's just too many.
They've lost 7 in a row.
That's another reason. Law of
in every
averages.
different way you could lose a game.
That's
on
another
a Hail Mary,
exactly.
on stupid decisions, on getting blown out, not showing up 3 separate times.
You're making my point for me. It's a law of averages at this point.
So Bragg's logic is an interesting one right now because and I'm not saying that you're wrong here, Gregory.
I'm never wrong.
Never wrong, but the whole thing about
Never wrong.
they're not predictable. They are predictable. They're going to lose. It's like been incredibly predictable. They're about to lose.
Four of these games it took like minor miracles for them to lose.
Yeah, and then 3 of them they didn't show up at all.
I understand. I get it.
You're right though. You're right. They could have won. At any rate, okay.
All right. Joe Calcagno, $4.99. Do not count the Carolina trade. That trade was more good fortune than a savvy GM move. It was a 7 out of 10 trade that lucked into 10 out of 10.
I made that point, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. J-Man, 3106, $10. Last week's no-show proves it's a player locker room issue. Only reason polls would be on the chopping block is if the new coach wants his GM. Might be possible. Steve C, $4.99, first time catching a live show. You all rock. Thank you, Steve.
You are the man.
Appreciate
Steve.
you. We need more positivity in this chat right now. So thank you for being here, Steve. Ty Day, $10. Are you guys willing to do a whole show apologizing to polls if he kills this offseason? You guys change tune quick. Weird, I haven't heard the critique of players on the show. Is polls playing?
Haven't heard the critique
Ty.
of the
Ty,
players.
you have not watched enough of this show, buddy.
Ty.
And also, let me tell you tell everyone how this works. We do shows every day, and when the team plays well, we tell you they're playing well. And when they lose 7 in a row and everything sucks, we tell you everything sucks. That's how this works.
We also give you great nuance, like Tyson Bagent's going to be incredible someday when he gets on the field somewhere. Yeah, I said it.
Way to go out on a limb there, buddy. Say what you really want to say. Not today. We'll save that.
Yeah, why don't we save that for another day? Let's save that for a day.
Chubbs 82, $2. Bears Packers tickets for sale.
Okay, thank you.
There
Chubbs, we'll call you.
Chubbs 82. Oh, here we got a bunch
Sign
of
and
Chubbs.
draft only defensive lineman and offensive lineman. I completely, he in the last 2 drafts they picked 2, Darnell Wright and
Karan Amagaji.
Oh my God, G. Not at Amagaji, but at the GM.
2 more from Chubbs. I think the Bears are going to lose all their games. Thank you, Chubbs. And another $2. All my hope is dead, Greg, just like this team.
Which is sad. Like, Chubbs picks the Bears to win every week, and he's, like, beat the drum for years. You should pick the Bears to win every week. And now look at they've killed Chubbs. Thanks a lot, George.
Chubbs is not dead. Chubbs will never die. Yeah. Chubbs will continue to fight, but Chubbs has lost his Chubbs. Or he's a permanent Chubbs. One of the two.
Just stop saying Chubbs. Chicago sports, $10.
Make sure you eat some Blue Chew.
Permanent Chubbs.
Is everyone overlooking Flores as the obvious head coach hire? Alpha personality, head coach experience, overachieved in Miami and now Minnesota. Elite scheme, knows the North, and guess who he played college football with. I think I'm with you on the Brian Flores train. There's only 2 problems. One I care about a little bit. The other I don't really care about, but it might still be the biggest reason why he doesn't get hired. Obviously not offensive head coach. 2, probably the bigger issue is he's suing the league right now. So you're going to hire Brian Flores. You got to answer to the other owners in the league. That does not seem like a McCaskey move.
Not at all.
I'm going to sue the league.
Shout out to a little wasted
my
for
life.
Chubbs. You is funny.
Make sure you're tuning in here once we end this show. Mark will probably do some singing here for the last couple minutes.
Thank you, Greg.
But there is an emergency pod going on our CHGO Sports Network right now with the breaking news of the Chicago White Sox. You may have heard of them trading Garrett Crochet to the Boston Red Sox. So that's live right now. Sean Anderson and Herb Lawrence are going over all that. So, and of course, CHGO Blackhawks coming up here at 2:30. So make sure you're tuning in, staying locked in with all the Chicago sports we cover here at CHGO.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alex Flores, who did a great job today in the chat, called me a donkey respectfully. That was awesome. Thank you, Alex. And now you can end the show, Hoge.
Okay.
One last super chat here. $10 from Guy Finley.
My
Carm
guy.
Scott is 0.01 seconds faster in the 40-yard dash. Rome was a full 10th faster in the 10-yard, the 3-cone, and 2/10 in the shuttle. I'll go with Rome.
You know what, Guy Finley? That's an excellent
He's faster than who?
job of research.
Tyler Scott's faster.
He's saying he's calling out Rome as the speed guy, and that Tyler's not that much
Am I
faster.
missing something here in the chat with the NFL on ESPN? That is weird. Sorry. Just thinking out loud.
Okay.
Serious. Look at NFL on ESPN. I don't know.
They love our show.
Who's that?
Are you really unaware that people can just make avatars and
No,
names
typically
and
when there's a check mark next to a name, which there is for this one, it's it's like the QB school, for instance. Like they're verified accounts.
Oh, okay. I don't know what.
So I don't know. But all that posturing here brought in $100 super chat. So you're welcome from Chevy Wellington.
And before we get to Chevy in 1 second, Guy Finley, I love you back, but more speed on the field, that's a good thing. We can have 2. Chevy Wellington, you're up.
I'm not reading it. Steven.
I'll read it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not
I
gonna
said
read it.
all these critiques of polls on the show during the summer in summer. And Hoge said it, and
He's
I quote
gonna
it.
work on his spelling.
Keep
here.
sending in your critiques of Ryan Poles, and I'll keep smacking them down. Fans of the chat call me crazy. Call him King Poles. CHGO critique commit. Chevy.
He didn't spell anything right in that.
Chevy.
entire
No, it's
sentence.
unbelievable.
Chevy. The tone, indeed.
I don't. No, it's fine. He keeps sending us $100. It's fine.
No, but I'm not. Listen, sir. Chevy. Good underlining. You might have been out in front of polls. Hoge, by the way, at that time, things looked a little different. I know that people get kind of fired up, like, now you're saying this. Well, I mean, look, yeah. Nobody knew at the time that. Were you sitting there, Chevy, my man? I love you.
That's what he's saying. He was.
Were you killing on Shane Waldron?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because I don't know if you were. It was impossible to know that was going to go the way it went, right? I mean, I think that's a fair thing. Now, did we, by the way, going back in time, did we think they should have kept Matt Eberflus? We can check the tape on that. I'm pretty certain that nobody said keep Matt Eberflus. Except maybe you did in a weird way, but not in a way that you thought that he was some great coach. At any rate, thank you, Chevy. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
I heard nothing you just said.
And then the last thing on all these Cole comments, like, dude, we tell you every single time he screws up, every single time he drops a pass. More importantly, he tells you that too. So I don't really understand it.
I yell at him every time he
Yeah,
walks in our studio about something.
And by the way,
do.
if you think he's not a good tight end, you don't know what you're watching. And I'm going to say that as nicely as possible. You do not know what you're watching. If you're mad he dropped that 2-point conversion, you have every right to. I would also encourage you to watch his blocking all the way down the field on that drive.
Also, let's be real here. Who's ever jumping on Cole? Cole Kmet, if you want to make him one of the Bears' problems, okay, fine. Then he's problem 198 on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real here. Come on. And by the way, show respect for Cole. He's one of the, come on, he's the front-facing, tremendous representative of the franchise, and he's been a very good player for the Bears. Period. End of story. Have a great day. We love you. You too, Hoge.
Thank you.
And you, Gregory. I can't wait to text with you tonight at 11 p.m.
Shout out to Casey Monroe to finish things off. $5 super chat. Love the show. Just became a diehard. Keep bringing the passion.
Thank you, Casey. We appreciate you.
Casey's from Grand Rapids, and I spoke to him this morning.
That's amazing.
So you got to give him a diehard shout out as we leave.
Well, let me tell you the things that I really do appreciate about Casey, because Casey is somebody that not only can make a case for the people out there that everyone is shining the spotlight on, but Casey will make the case for the people that are in the shadows.
You're right, Blaze the Nugs. You're absolutely right.
Blaze the Nugs. Hoge's soul left the set minutes ago.
18 minutes ago, because the pre-show meeting, I said this show's going to be an hour, and now we're at an hour 18.
Oh.
Well, listen, you can do all that, but I'm just going to sit there and just tell you about Casey. And Casey steps to the plate. Casey at the bat. Casey in the shadows. Casey in the light. Casey wherever. Casey, thank you.
Great gas station.
Phenomenal gas station. Great snacks.
Big fan of Casey on Yellowstone.
Casey on Yellowstone's big. And tomorrow when Hoge is at Hallis Hall and I have control of that microphone, there will be a lot more diehard shoutouts because I know I owe a bunch of people diehard shoutouts, and they will be coming tomorrow. Along with
Chubbs actually hasn't gotten his diehard shout out. He's been texting me a lot lately how upset he's been. And you have a good day, Hoge. We'll see you. It's not. Well, actually, you brought in the Casey from Yellowstone a minute ago, so you're a part of this. Yes. Greg Boyson and the CHGO Blackhawks.
In 11 minutes, they'll be here.
We'll be here jumping on with their hard-hitting football and hockey analysis.
They'll be dominating. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.